Everybody, welcome back. Let's just hop into it. There's something wrong with our food. We are the most unhealthy country on the planet. It's well known at this point that we have the most obese people. We grow into our health issues more than we are born with them, and usually it's a result of our diet. I feel sick. I feel terrible. We feel sick. 4 months ago, my wife and I left Greece so we can come back to America and prepare for the birth of our child. Before we left, we both felt very happy, very fit, and we're very careful with what we put in our bodies. And the things we chose to eat were always good foods, as we both come from the school of thought where food is the best medicine. And it's easy to eat healthy in Greece because it's a country that's banned genetically modified foods. And the availability of affordable fruits, vegetables, eggs, dairy, meats can be found in grocery stores or in the bazaars that happen weekly all throughout the country. It's easy to eat healthy. It's easy to eat clean. It's just the way people exist. In the Mediterranean, yes, but for us, especially in Greece. But it didn't take long after we came to Ohio before we started to notice that we started to feel kind of tired, nauseous, more anxious, bloated, and just kind of sick in general. I think we try to be careful what we put in our bodies when we got here, because we've traveled a lot and we know that coming to America, there's always going to be a bit of a transition where your gut has to get used to the food that's here. But even though we took our time, it really didn't seem to matter. And this isn't particular to us. There's many digital nomads, many expats, many immigrants who've gone through the same thing. And they'll say the same thing. They'll tell you that one of the biggest changes that happens as soon as you leave America is that you start to feel better. You start to feel healthier. You start to feel lighter. The food changes you. It nourishes you in a way that it just doesn't do it in America. And for many people, including myself, it even seemed to cure some chronic illnesses that I've been dealing with for many years. And like I said, it's not just me. So let's take a listen to what our brother who visited Brazil has to say.
If you want to hear a scary and interesting story, watch this video. My wife and I, we just got back from our trip to Brazil. We were there for 3 weeks, and she's from Brazil originally, so we went to go visit her family. Now, prior to the trip, we cut out eating rice and like potato chips and things like that. We used to eat something crunchy with like every single meal, and we used to eat rice almost every single meal. Cut that out for like 3 months, lost weight, went to Brazil, and once we got to Brazil, we ate so much food all the time. Some of you know, some of you don't. I'm a bariatric patient, so my stomach is not as big as it used to be, and I was still eating so much food all the time. I'm talking chocolates, brownies, rice, beans, and meat every single day, French fries every single day. The traditional Brazilian meal is rice, beans, farofa, French fries, meat, salad, these kinds of things. Vinaigrette, which is like it's like a pico de gallo Brazilian style. Picanha every single day, meat, carne every single day. You name it, we ate it. And we were like, oh shit, when we get home, we're gonna step on that scale. It's gonna be a whole different story. And we got home and we stepped on the scale, both of us, and we both lost weight. Now here's the interesting part. We have been back for 3 days. We landed on Wednesday at 7 a.m. The first thing we got, since we'd been gone, our fridge was empty, our house was empty. The first thing we got was breakfast. We just ordered Uber Eats from this diner down the street. Fake eggs, crappy ass hash browns, sausage links, whatever. Just to put food in our stomachs while we were home until we figured out groceries and everything. I got some shredded beef from Trader Joe's, peppers, onions, tomatoes, cooked up some food the last couple of days. Even used some of like the stock freezer food that you can just pop real quickly and easy. There was like raviolis and meatballs from Trader Joe's. 24 hours after we were in LA, we woke up the next day and we had the worst headaches ever for hours. Feeling sluggish, feeling tired. We know jet lag. This was not jet lag. I can't even fathom the fact that I was able to consume as much food and a variety of different foods, from sweets to drinking Guaraná and Coke Zeros over there, to eating as much as we want, just to coming back here for 1 day to the United States and eating the food that we ate, both home cooked and ordered. Fucking Amazon. And we both felt as shitty as we felt in 24 hours. Yeah, this country's food, no bueno, dude.
No bueno indeed. And what he's saying isn't wrong. You eat so much food when you're traveling. Think about it. You're on vacation. You may have been dieting in the States. You want to lose a few pounds before you go to the beach or something like that. And then all of a sudden, you're surrounded by all this amazing food, fresh. And some of it even seeming unhealthy. Some of it may be products that you're used to in the United States, but because of the regulations in other countries, they don't have the same poisons in it that we consume here all the time. So you say a Coke Zero, yeah. Coke Zero in the United States is full of crap, and it's going to be full of crap in another country, but it doesn't have the same chemicals. It just affects your body differently. And even French fries. French fries are a big thing in my family. The wife loves French fries. She'll eat them for every meal, and that's pretty common in a lot of parts of the world to have fried potatoes of some kind with many meals. But they're not the French fries you get from McDonald's. They're not the French fries you get from Burger King or that you get in the freezer section at a Kroger or at an Aldi's. And you throw in the oven or you throw in the fryer. For some reason, they just don't affect you the same way. You don't feel bloated. You don't feel heavy. You can feel full, yeah, but it doesn't have the same negative impact. So when we're in Turkey, when we're having Turkish breakfast with the family, there's going to be French fries, lots of them. And it's usually, grandma, she's going to cut the potatoes into French fries and then fry them themselves. But like I said, it doesn't make you feel sick. It actually does quite the opposite. Our food didn't feel like it was weighing us down. It felt like it was actually fueling us like it's supposed to do. And I know that Americans know that the food here has such negative impacts on your health. But the question is why? Why is food less harmful in almost every other country? Even countries that have high levels of obesity, like Mexico is starting to have high levels of obesity, but when I go down there, it's the exact same thing, no matter what I eat. It's a lot of meats and cheeses down there, but still, I feel great. I'm gonna take more naps, more siestas, absolutely. But I don't feel sick unless I drink the water. But it does make a lot of us curious, and I like what this guy has to say.
Viewers ask so many times about my clients going to Europe, eating pasta, pizza, and gelato or ice cream and losing weight. And many comments in the boxes say the same thing. And so it's the quality of the nutrition, especially in Italy and France, where they pay attention to culinary delights. And so the food in America, especially let's say the bread, for example, the bread has all sorts of potassium sorbate, which is a preservative. I mean, it's not food, right? It's a bunch of isolated chemicals or preservatives. This has an effect on the human body. I think the FDA, they will approve certain things because a little bit is not going to give you cancer overnight. But eating it over long periods of time, what are our statistics in the United States of America? Well, 70% of the American people are obese or overweight. Well, if you know anything about the human body, it's a very intelligent computer, and it takes in things that can't be metabolized. It is an extremely amazing device that will self-heal itself.
I like what he has to say. And I gotta stop on the bread thing. Bread in America is poisonous. Bread in America will make you fat. Everyone knows that. For some reason in America, we just don't do fresh bread. And if you do, it's just cost prohibitive. It's too expensive. You want really good bread, fresh baked bread? I mean, what are your options? There's no bakeries in America, not anymore. There may be a couple, but they're few and far between. And when you go, it's $8 to $10 for a loaf of bread. In Europe, especially in the Mediterranean, bakeries are part of the culture. People go to the bakeries every day and get a fresh loaf every day. In Greece, it was something like €1, $1.25. For fresh village bread. It's my favorite. Just get a nice round loaf. You take off pieces, dip it in olive oil, have some cheeses, have some olives. But we would go through, between me and my 5'1" wife, we would go through a loaf of bread every day. I can't imagine eating a loaf of bread in America every day, especially not like a white bread like Wonder Bread or even any kind of sandwich bread, because that's the only bread we really have, unless you're going to get some kind of like a baguette or a loaf of French bread. And still, that's going to be nothing but hyper processed ingredients. And you're going to feel bad afterwards. You should never feel bad after eating bread. It has been the staple of the human diet for thousands of years. Bread has been a constant thing. I understand that some people have gluten allergies. I understand that some people want to stay away from carbs. But I find it interesting that in America specifically, we chase diets instead of chasing good ingredients. It's not because we're having too much carbs. It's not because we're having too much protein, too much sugars, or anything like that. It's where they're coming from. It's how processed they are. You go to countries where people eat fruits all the time, where people eat sweets a lot, and still we find them being healthier. We find them being happier. It's the food itself. It's not the combination of the foods that are killing us. And I personally am someone who deals with quite a few health problems. And one of them has been quite severe and has developed while I was in the military. And that's kind of chronic IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And because of that, there's a lot of foods that I have to steer clear from, or at least I thought I needed to. Like I said, it's not the food itself. It's where it's coming from. It's what's in it. And that's why I like what this guy just had to say. Our foods are hyper processed and hyper palatable. They're grown with chemicals that cause us to suffer. And even something that's healthy, something that's advertised as being healthy, is still typically filled with things that are banned in other countries. I was living in Greece for maybe a week before I realized that the foods would typically trigger my IBS weren't having the same effect. And it was about a month before I realized that my symptoms almost completely resolved. And that's with eating the trigger foods that would usually cause me so much distress. It was amazing because it's something I suffered with. But now I'm back in America and my IBS is back. My inflammation in my joints is back. And even though we try to eat organic as much as possible, we try to eat clean. We do most of our shopping at Whole Foods, which I have to say at this point isn't as expensive as it used to be. I'll never get meat from there, but everything else is pretty much the same as you'll find at a Acme, at a Giant Eagle, at a Food Lion, at a Kroger, at a Albertsons. It's about the same price, but they have better stuff there. And that's why we go. Plus, it's the only place where you can find really kind of good bakery bread. It's $6, yeah, for like a good sourdough, but still it lasts us a few days. And I'm willing to pay a little bit extra for something that I know is not going to be doing as much damage to me as like, processed sliced bread. And even though we are careful and we try to pick the best ingredients, the best foods that we can put inside of us, because they're grown here, because we have the lack of regulations in what goes in our food here, I feel bad again. My IBS is back again. I wake up feeling bloated and sore again. My inflammation is back. And the sad fact is, our food here in America is poisoning us. How many of the illnesses that we deal with or that we develop as we age are from the food that we eat, from the food that we consume? For thousands of years, food has been the best medicine. Clean eating healthy has been the best medicine. It's been well known. But food in America isn't medicine. Food in America actually causes you to need medicine. And I refuse to go on 10 or 20 different kinds of medication as I get older because the ailments that I've developed because of the foods that I've eaten. Because I do have a feeling that most of the medications that we end up taking as we get older is just our way of coping with the ailments and the illnesses that we've developed from the American diet and what's in it. And I know that if I just eat like I used to eat, if I just have whatever I want, because there's a lot of very good foods in America. We're good at making good tasting foods that are going to kill you. And I know that if I do so, inevitably, it's going to damage me irrevocably. And some of you may say, well, you probably just eat a lot of fast food. The problem with Americans is they eat a lot of fast food. And yes, we do eat a lot of fast food. But everywhere in the world, people eat fast food. In fact, when I was living in Athens, I'd say people ate out all the time. It wasn't as expensive as it is in America, for sure. People are social. They go out, they eat, they have drinks, they have coffee, they smoke cigarettes. But still, they seem healthier. And the fast food in America is different from the fast food somewhere else. If I have Domino's Pizza in Fairfax, Virginia, it's going to be much different than the Domino's that I get in Egypt or in Athens or in Turkey. I don't know if Turkey has Domino's, but they do in Egypt. I know that. And it tastes terrible. It tastes terrible for a reason. It tastes terrible because it doesn't have all those chemicals that drive your taste buds and make you want more and more and more and more. When you order a pizza, you don't eat one slice. But that's everywhere. And McDonald's tastes different. Burger King tastes different. Popeyes, there's Popeyes in Turkey. It tastes different. And people don't really go to these that often because they don't taste very good. Or they do, and because they're tourists and they want a taste of home. But wherever you go in the world, there's plenty of options for fast food. And people eat it all the time. So I can't say that fast food is the reason why people feel this way. Because fast food can be healthy. I love Greece and I talk about it all the time, I know. But let's compare the cheeseburger to the gyro. Cheeseburger, you're going to feel terrible. You know, the cheeseburger from McDonald's, cheeseburger from Burger King, you're gonna have indigestion, you're gonna have heartburn, you're gonna feel bad. It's just kind of gross. It comes with hyper processed fries. It comes with corn syrup filled soda. You just go to a local shop in Greece and you're gonna get something with fresh tomatoes, onions, French fries, absolutely, tasty French fries. And then a slow cooked pork or a slow cooked chicken that's seasoned perfectly on a fresh home bread. And if it's chicken, you may get some mayonnaise on there, but I like a good yogurt sauce. And after going to the gym, usually I'd pick up 1 or 2 of them because there was one right next to my apartment. And I never felt like I was gonna need to lay down afterwards, unless I had 2. If I had 2, yeah, because that's a lot of food. But if I could eat 1 and then just be on the go, and that's what people do. It's like €2.50 to €3 for a good gyro. So that's what you're comparing when it comes to fast food. Let's not even talk about Asia. You're not going to compare McDonald's to chicken inasal from Philippines. You're not going to compare McDonald's to some good street food in Thailand. It's just not, there's no comparison really. So that's another reason I would never want to raise my kid here. I don't want to keep my family here because I know that this food is poison. And for a lot of you who are suffering from kind of food-related illnesses, whether it's GERD, whether it's IBS, whether it's just kind of chronic inflammation, yeah, I promise you, if you decide to travel or maybe just go live somewhere else or have an extended vacation somewhere, you're going to notice that a lot of the symptoms that you have are just going to kind of go away. That's not a promise. I can't do that, but there's a good likelihood. There always seems to be an effect. Once you leave America, once you leave an environment where we're putting these poisons into our body constantly, like the guy in that last video says, our body has an amazing ability to heal itself when given the right things. So I think that's what we should do. We should put the right things in our body. And if we're in a place where we don't have the right things to put in our body, if they're not available, then we have to seek those things out. One of the great benefits of living in another country is your access to clean, healthy foods. In America, you have to pay for clean, healthy foods. You have to pay exorbitant prices for clean, healthy foods. In other countries, it's the standard. In other countries, you can just go to a market and get whatever you want, and it's going to be good for you. You're not going to have to worry about it. Of course, rinse it off, but it's not going to be covered in the same chemicals. It's not going to be causing damage in the long run so that when you get older, you have to be on a bunch of different pills, because do not get me wrong. The pharmaceutical company is tied in deep with the food industry. And if you think they're not making a killing off all the damage that our food is doing to us, you are gullible and naive. And you're not gullible and naive, because it's just common knowledge at this point. Break away from the system. Leave this place while you can, because the food here is poisoning you. The economy is broken. Our culture is broken. And there's better places out there where you can be happy. We got 1 year left here, and we're just trying to keep it together. We're trying to keep our health. We're trying to keep our finances strong. We're doing what we have to do like everyone else. But I know, because I've lived somewhere else, that there's better options. And don't be afraid to take the risk to pursue the better options that you know are out there. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section. Other than that, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you guys have a good one.